Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, House Republicans are turning up the heat on Capitol Hill, grilling U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland. Plus, the Biden administration is canceling more federal student loan debt.
And the forecast does not change much in the short term, tracking mainly dry and mild weather as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. House Republicans called U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland to Capitol Hill for an oversight hearing on the Department of Justice. But the hearing became a back and forth about GOP claims that the DOJ has become a tool of President Biden used to attack his political opponents. CBS's Natalie Brand has more from Capitol Hill.
We will not be intimidated.
Attorney General Merrick Garland, in the hot seat before the House Judiciary Committee, defended the work of the Justice Department he leads.
I am not the president's lawyer. I will add, I am not Congress's prosecutor.
Republicans on the committee accused the DOJ of what they call a two-tiered system of justice.
Americans believe that today in our country, there is unequal application of the law.
They see the DOJ, of course, aggressively prosecuting President Biden's chief political rival, Mr. Trump, while at the same time, they see slow walking and special treatment given to the president's son.
Republicans peppered the Attorney General with questions about the DOJ's investigation into Hunter Biden. Garland referred lawmakers to the special counsel overseeing the probe more than 24 times.
Prosecutors make appropriate determinations on their own. In this case, I left it to Mr. Weiss whether to bring charges or not.
Democrats accuse Republicans of pushing conspiracy theories for political gain.
They want to divide this country and make our government appear like it's broken, because that is when their broken political party thrives. So today, I implore the public to see through the sham.
Attorney General Garland also testified that no one told him to indict former President Trump, rebutting Trump's campaign trail claim. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Garland repeated multiple times claims of a politicized or weaponized DOJ have led to security threats against FBI and DOJ personnel. The White House is issuing a stark warning about a possible federal government shutdown. Lawmakers are struggling to reach a deal before funding expires on September 30th. If they do not, the White House says active duty military, federal law enforcement personnel, air traffic controllers, and TSA officers would have to work without pay. The White House says that could mean national security risks and travel delays. Today marks day 6 of the United Auto Workers strike. Thousands of auto workers are already on the picket line attempting to adjust to their new dilemma. One single mom says she typically makes about $19 an hour working at a Stellantis factory, but with her plant now on strike, she has to figure out a way to live on her union-provided strike pay, just $500 a week.
Yes. Every dollar, every cent is accounted for, whether it goes for food, electric, gas, rent. It's ketchup and hot dogs instead of having ketchup, hot dogs, and applesauce. You know, it's just like, it's like one less thing on the plate.
If progress is not made by Friday, the UAW is threatening to call more workers to go on strike. The union representing Canadian auto workers at Ford has reached a tentative deal with the U.S. automaker, averting a possible strike of more than 5,000 members. So far, details of that deal have not been released. A strike would have shut 3 of Ford's Canadian factories down and closed a number of parts distribution centers. It's not immediately clear what impact this deal might have on the negotiations between the UAW and Ford, as well as General Motors and Stellantis. A lack of housing and resources is creating strife in some communities due to a rise in the number of migrants crossing through U.S. borders. CNN's Ivan Rodriguez reports on concerns from border officials.
A surge in migrants crossing over the U.S. southern border causing concerns for communities across the nation. There were more than 8,000 apprehensions Monday, according to a Department of Homeland Security official. With shelters in El Paso, Texas at or over capacity, resources are being stretched.
Things were slow 4 or 5 weeks ago, so their capacity was about 250 a day. Then they ramped up to 400, and now they're ramping up to 600.
The rising number of migrants coming in causing tension in communities far from the southern border. On Staten Island, 10 people were taken into custody as protesters blocked a bus carrying migrants. New York City's mayor condemning their actions.
I say to those who believe they're going to use violence by throwing bottles at police officers and migrants, we're not going to accept that.
The surge in Arizona is causing long wait times at the border. The mayor of Nogales calling on Washington for help.
My main concern is I hope Washington comes and visits us and looks at the real picture.
Amid the uptick in arrivals, migrant families pose a unique set of challenges for officials. Last week, an independent court monitor found that in rare cases, children were temporarily separated from their parents while in processing centers. A Customs and Border Protection spokesperson maintains the agency prioritizes keeping families together. An official with the agency said sometimes separations are carried out amid overcrowding in the interest of safety.
We want to treat everybody with dignity and respect and bring the folks in as we can.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
A group of GOP senators wants to crack down on the dress code. In a letter to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Rick Scott and 45 Republicans asked the Senate's previous, more formal, unwritten dress code to be enforced. They say casual clothing on the Senate floor is disrespectful to the American families we represent. Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, along with Senators Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, and Mitt Romney, were among those who signed the letter. States, cities, and tribes have a chance to secure climate grants up to $500 million. Funding for the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants Program comes from the Inflation Reduction Act. The Biden administration says applicants need to design a project to reduce planet warming pollution. The Environmental Protection Agency says it anticipates awarding up to 215 grants. Applications are due in the spring, and winners will receive funds next fall.
Well, the big story into this evening, those temperatures a few degrees warmer today. Most of us in the middle to upper 70s. Here's a live look from London to Hazard to Pikeville. We are dry under plenty of blue sky, but again, we are a little bit warmer out there this evening. Most of us near 80 for Manchester, 78 for London, 79 for Middlesboro, also Jonesville. A little bit cooler in Southwest Virginia, down to 71 in Grundy and 72 over in Wise at this hour. Up on the radar, a clean sweep does continue, all thanks to high pressure that will also continue into this evening, also into Thursday and Friday. So we are tracking a streak of drier weather, and again, that will continue into this evening. If you have any plans to go out to dinner, we are dry under that partly cloudy sky. Those temperatures a little bit mild in the middle to upper 70s. We fall into the upper 50s and lower 60s as you wake up on Thursday. Watching out for a little bit of some cooler air this weekend, and then maybe a few rain chances by next week. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. The Federal Reserve has concluded a two-day policy meeting without another hike in interest rates as it awaits more data on how previous rate hikes have affected the U.S. economy. July's increase brought the benchmark lending rate to a 22-year high. Though inflation is steadily slowing and the unemployment rate is relatively low, the U.S. economy is still contending with challenges that could hamper progress, namely high gas and energy prices.
If those prices are sustained at high levels, they can spill over into the prices of other goods and services.
While the Fed may be taking its foot off the gas for now, McBride says not to expect lower interest rates anytime soon. The Biden administration is canceling nearly $37 million of federal student loan debt for more than 1,200 University of Phoenix students. Building on an investigation by the FTC, the Department of Education found the for-profit school misled students about job prospects. The Biden administration continues to cancel some borrowers' debts under existing programs after the Supreme Court blocked its broad student loan forgiveness program. Goldman Sachs predicts oil prices will average $100 a barrel 1 year from now. The investment banking giant made that forecast today, citing Saudi Arabia's aggressive supply cuts. Brent crude, the world benchmark, currently sells for around $94 a barrel. Goldman says it does not see prices going consistently above $105 a barrel next year, but even $100 a barrel oil would be very bad news for drivers who are already experiencing pain at the pump. Bank of America is increasing its minimum wage by $1. Starting next month, workers will make at least $23 an hour. For full-time employees, that means a starting salary of nearly $48,000 a year. Bank of America is also planning another $2 raise in 2025. That would be its 7th wage increase since 2017. Other banks, including Trust Financial, J.P. Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo, have also increased worker pay during the past few years. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, there's a new law that aims to keep you safer when shopping online. We take a deeper dive into the Informed Consumers Act in today's Watching Your Wallet.
Plus, high pressure is the big story as we close out the work week. Your full forecast coming up after this break.